people consistently are saying this is a great setup for season 2. I'm like, I don't care. I want season 1 to be good. And it was almost good. I am going to argue throughout this whole episode that you shouldn't be waiting for season 2. I believe seasons should stand on their own. Otherwise, don't release them. I did not enjoy it. Mostly. I enjoyed parts of it. I did not enjoy the season as a whole. I'll say that. Okay. There are good parts to it.
You need carbs!
May thy knife chip and shatter.
There is beauty in imperfections.
You're great. I am.
And if you feel it, are you watching closely?
It's legitimately been a month since I last recorded virtually, because whenever I recorded the live action remakes was a while ago, and then I produced it, released it, and then I had like 2 weeks until Ellie and I were in person together, and now it's this. So it just, everything was broken. All of my studio was basically messed up, and so now I'm back.
Nice.
So my mom got me something for my birthday, and when it arrived, I was like, "Oh yeah, I did ask for that." It's Madagascar Ultimate Collection: 4 movies, 3 shorts, 10 TV shows.
Wow.
10 TV episodes. The weird. I've been leaning into the digital or the physical media a lot more, because it's superior in every way. And the thing that I was most excited for with this pack was the Madagascar penguins in a Christmas caper short, because that's one of the most funny things that they've produced, and now it's in this pack.
Kaboom!
Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
And these are just such stupid movies. They're so cool.
Are there actually 4 movies, or is one of them the Christmas special?
One of them is Penguins in Madagascar.
Oh,
the spin-off movie. Good kids movies, very ridiculous. And now I have them on Blu-ray and digital, so that's exciting. What have you been watching? We'll kick it off with that.
What I have been watching has been Superman and Lois.
Oh.
That's, yeah.
Very cool.
Pretty much all I've been watching besides Daredevil Born Again. Because you just mean... That just means TV shows when you ask that, right?
Anything. Like, have you seen movies that haven't released? Or, sorry. Movies that aren't in theaters that are older.
Yeah. Well, first off, I want to talk about Superman and Lois a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Because it's such... I mean, if you've watched... For our audience, if you've seen our Superman episode, you've already seen me rave about it a little bit. Even though I'd only seen like a season of the show at that point. But
yeah.
Being able to continue it now has been cool. It's really just a show that gets Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially like adapting him into a modern, complicated world while still having him be like a man of hope. Yeah. Is so cool.
Cool.
Because I feel like that's one of the biggest things that like Snyder got wrong, is that I think it's okay to have Superman be in like a complicated real world, but if he's not that man of hope, you've lost what makes him him.
Yeah.
But in Superman and Lois, you just get that, and it's cool to see him like be a father in the show as well, and like how that shapes his priorities. Because that is really something that he wants to focus on, is being a father to his 2 sons. So, especially in seeing this come from like the CW in the late or the early 2020s, it's interesting how like traditional it is in terms of family values. So that's really cool.
For sure.
But anyway, besides that, I've seen some very interesting movies recently. I watched the movie Stranger Than Fiction for the first time, which we might talk about on the podcast later. Great movie. It's Will Ferrell. It's pretty much his Truman Show in a sense. It's very thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting lessons about life and free will in a similar vein to Truman Show as well. So,
yeah,
definitely recommend that one. And I also watched The Italian Job after a long time. I've seen that one before, but it's been a while. Have you seen that one?
No.
The newer one with Mark Wahlberg.
2003 new?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There was one in the 60s. So
Yeah. Gotcha.
if you want a great heist movie, watch that one. That one's so
I like
good.
a good heist movie.
It's so good.
It's got some good people in it. Statham in his early years, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Norton, Theron. Very cool.
What have you been watching, Seth?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Not a lot. Ellie and I have been watching Duck Dynasty.
Nice.
They're coming back in the middle of May with reboot, but not a reboot because it's the same family. But not that we're gonna get caught up by then, but we're enjoying the short episodes and all the fun that brings. We watched Prince of Egypt because my church library had an unregistered version that I just yoinked for myself because my pastor told me to. So we watched Prince of Egypt. That was really good, especially thinking about Val Kilmer passing and being able to hear him play Moses. And even it's been a while since I've watched Prince of Egypt, and I've known that there are a lot of high named or A-list actors in it, and yet I was trying my hardest to try and picture them. Sometimes you can really picture them in the studio. They just blend into these characters so well. They disappear. Even Ellie said she could tell with Jeff Goldblum, but even then he turned down his bloomness to an acceptable level, and you could hear it. You can hear it's Jeff Goldblum, but he's not doing his isms and whatever. And maybe those weren't developed back when they made the movie, but he just is Aaron. Aaron is Aaron. Aaron is not Jeff Goldblum or whatever. And it's a great movie.
I feel like Jeff Goldblum voice acting is kind of like Seth Rogen voice acting.
Yeah,
in the sense that you most of the time painfully know that it's them.
Yeah. But also Prince of Egypt is a childhood movie of mine, so maybe I've talked about the idea of hearing things as sounds and not like lines or phrases or literal words. You kind of hear them as sounds. There are certain Adventures in Odyssey episodes that just sound like noises versus speaking or something, because I learned them or listened to them over and over and over again, that they're just ingrained in my mind like that. It's an interesting concept that probably has a thesis written on it somewhere. Man,
it'd be so cool to do an episode on Adventures in Odyssey.
Oh, I need to get caught up because I hear that there's really good ones recently. Because Will, who played Eugene,
he's been passed away. He passed a few years ago.
Played by Will Ryan. People know him from other places as well. But Will Ryan passed in 2021, and I hear that there is a great tribute or a great sending off of him that I need to get to, because there have been tears shed by my friends and family who have listened to it. So I'm curious about that one. And yeah, it's multi-generational at this point. It's been out for 30 years, I think. And just bridging multiple generations now is just crazy. And honestly, when we have kids, there's going to be, getting through all those 30 years will take time, and it's a good thing because you need more of that stuff. I guess I haven't been watching anything else because life.
Yeah,
got a full-time job, as I said. That's why we're doing bi-weekly episodes. We are going to try something this week, and this is going to be exciting, I hope, for listeners. I assume we're going to talk for an hour, and yet this episode may only be a half hour. because we're going to try and do shorter episodes, but back to weekly. That way I still have a lighter load, but you get episodes weekly, because the 2 weeks that I've had no episodes recently since I announced it and started doing it, people have been like, it feels empty. And that's right. I don't want that feeling. I would rather have weekly episodes than long episodes. And we can still have long episodes like this one, but it's going to be over the course of 2 weeks instead of an hour for 1 week, and then you have nothing next week. So I think we're going to try
like a part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to try it. We'll see how it goes. And let me know in the Discord what you think of it. Obviously you have to kind of wait until next week to hear part 2, but yeah. I think it'll work. I think we'll be good. And yeah, I don't want to, you gotta have, I kind of have this Venn diagram in my head of length of episode, quality of episode, quantity of episode, and like where is my pinpoint landing? I'd never want to detract from the quality. I want quality to always be up there. I'm not the best produced, but that's part of why I keep doing this, is because I enjoy the editing part of it as well as talking with friends. And it sounds like people want weekly. I want weekly just for the sake of keeping me busy rather than working a full week and then having a week off. I'd rather just have a light week consistently. And then I'm willing to sacrifice on the time, on the length of the episode. So that's just how I think of it. And I think Ellie appreciates that too.
Wait, you mean focusing on quantity instead of quality is a bad thing?
Is that a transition point I hear? Maybe. I think we should take it. Well, actually, I wanted to do some news, even though we aren't up to date and people will be hearing this for the first time in a week and a half. But first off, Andor is releasing tonight.
Yeah. Tonight.
6 episodes will be out by the time this episode goes live, which is crazy. We'll slowly make our way through them, and then I believe I have an episode scheduled with Isaac to do Andor season 2 and review that when it is done. The Last of Us Part 2, season 2 is releasing as we speak. They did the thing. They did the thing that seems to be the worst kept secret. But still it's new, and that's an interesting spoiler, because some people are not wanting that spoiler, but even with it being a TV show, it's now going to be more widely known, because you don't just have to have a PlayStation to be able to play it, because it wasn't exclusive and you had to play through that, buy the game and all that. Now it's going to be more openly known. And I think we're going to start to see less people giving a spoiler alert for that thing. And people have talked about how it's different, how they've changed from part 2 to this show. And I think Josh and I will talk about that when we get a chance to watch that.
Someone lied to me when they told me how his death scene happened.
The what? Sorry.
I mean in the game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Joel dies at the beginning of the second game.
Yeah.
To spoil a game that's been out for how many years at this point?
I don't know. It's a good question.
It's definitely not the thing we're talking about. Anyway.
Oh, it came out in 2020.
The Last of Us Part 2 did?
Yeah.
Wow, that's new.
So technically, sorry, I retract all my statements about how old it is, which when Josh and I talk about the TV show, it's going to be interesting to talk about the 5-year turnaround on this, and how quickly that happened. So anyway,
what I thought I heard somewhere was that it was Ellie that killed Joel because he was infected.
That would have been, I don't know, really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard that or how I figured that was what happened, but I might get to it at some point.
Yeah.
And join you guys on that episode, but we'll see.
Yeah. I don't want to be paying for Max for like 3 months, so I'm gonna get it for 1 month and watch all the episodes once they're out. But
that's fair.
Yeah, the thing that I saw with Critical Drinkers review was that they changed some things to make it a little more believable, but yet the actress that they played, again, they've done a great job. casting actresses for The Last of Us. Sorry. That was a little on the nose. I think Bella Ramsey is doing okay. But still, Abby is supposed to be a buff girl, and maybe that was too much of an exaggeration in the video game, but that's not how the actress who's playing her in the show is. She has the face for Abby, but not the body. And so then the critical drinker was like, okay, are we really believing that this scrawny kid is beating up a big burly man to death? And yeah, like it's not going to do zero damage, but there's still some things that they didn't reflect to perfection. And where do you start your suspension of disbelief? Where do you end it? I don't know. Yeah. Doomsday started filming. They're still planning on putting that out in 14 months from now. I'm so worried. It's going to be like the Minecraft movie leaked pre-VFX video that released. And it's just going to look all flat. And, man, I don't know.
First reactions for Thunderbolts are out, too.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they're mostly positive.
Yeah, so we're Brave New World.
Yeah, they're calling it a return to form for the MCU, which also we've heard more than once before.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me see if I can find any. They're calling it Raw, and I'm blanking now. Let's see.
I feel like the Thunderbolts has already given us the premise, the idea of bringing together the B or C tier characters that have kind of been forgotten into a team up movie to fight a new bad guy. I get the premise from the trailers. I know everything that's going to happen, basically. And especially with the Doomsday cast announced and all of the Thunderbolts surviving, even the bad guy, technically, even though he's, a Jekyll and Hyde type of character.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel nothing for this movie.
Really? Nothing? Feel nothing for Thunderbolts?
I know. Dude, it's going to be a return to form of the most basic, understandable, predictable Marvel movie.
I think it's going to be more than that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
You're just cynical, Seth.
Yes, I am. We can't be doing news because we're 20 minutes in and this is like half the episode now. You and I are seeing Revenge of the Sith this weekend for my birthday. And yeah, that's fun. Anyways, that's the news I got. We need to, back to our segue point we made a while ago. Quality over quantity, speed. I'm speed, something like that. I've titled this episode Almost So Good or something similar because that's how I feel about Daredevil Born Again. It's hard not to look at this show and realize and not understand all of the things that it went through to get to that point. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense without knowing the behind the scenes stuff. It's just integral into how the story developed. And for those who don't know, I want to find the episode list so I can know.
Episodes 2 through 7 were the ones that were pretty overhaul with scenes.
Backing up. Daredevil was announced, and I would love to go back and look at the timeline. If I wasn't doing a podcast, this is actually an idea I've had, is to make videos similar to news, breaking news, Doomsday has started filming or something. But it's not for people, like it's not to release right away. It's for a archive so that when Doomsday releases, I put together a video that says, hey, it's April 22nd, Doomsday has started filming. And then you have like an archive of videos of what we were thinking. And we're kind of doing that with the state of the franchise. But anyways, a while ago, very long time ago, Daredevil Born Again was announced, and Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Frank Castle, or John Bernthal, I believe, were the only three that were announced to return. Vanessa was going to be recast. Foggy and Karen were not going to be in it. It did not sound like it was actually a season 4 to Born Again or to Daredevil from the Netflix seasons. And they started filming that. They did not get positive reception to that, and I believe the SAG protests and strike put a hold on that anyways. And we heard that there was going to be a complete overhaul of the show. And yet they got too far along to actually scrap everything. So what they did was they took episodes 1 through 6 of season 1, bumped them up to 2 through 7. And then, they probably cut episodes 7 through 9 of the original one, or whatever their plan was for it. Bumped up episodes 1 through 6 to be episodes 2 through 7 of the new one, and made episode 1 and episode 8 and 9 to be new episodes. And you can feel it. You can feel the tonal differences with 1, 8, and 9, as well as just the general story. We watched episode 8, and Ellie was like, where has this story been? This is the story. And we're just getting started. We're talking about things in episode 1. We're talking about things from episode 1 in episode 8. And yes, there has been some things, but that's kind of like writing in the story. Like thinking about what they did with Adam. Adam was a storyline in 2 through 7. But it was really finished maybe at the end of 7, I believe. Or at the end, I don't remember. But it's very loosely tied in and actually has no true effect on 8 and 9, except that the trust issues between Wilson and Vanessa. You and I said that episode 5 is just filler, which I don't know why you need filler in such a short season. I am assuming that once season 2 comes out, that's going to feel like the whole season, because that's what it kind of used to be. But still, I am going to argue throughout this whole episode that you shouldn't be waiting for season 2. I believe seasons should stand on their own. Otherwise, don't release them. And if season 1 of Born Again was only meant to set up season 2, and yes, maybe it was a course correction because they were like, we have to use some of what we did, and that's 2/3 of the show. When you realize that most of that is filler, the Muse storyline, the Hector Ayala, they basically have their own section, and then you could probably cut episodes 1, episodes 8 and 9, and then chunks from 2 through 7, just a few minutes here and there to fill in the gaps, and you could make a regular movie. Or maybe a 2-part season or a 2-part special presentation or something. And people consistently are saying this is a great setup for season 2. I'm like, I don't care. I want season 1 to be good. And it was almost good. I did not enjoy it. Mostly. I enjoyed parts of it. I did not enjoy the season as a whole. I'll say that. Okay. There are good parts to it, and we can talk about that in a sec. But just as from a bird's eye view, it is lower than season 2 of the original series, and season 2 is known as the worst of those 3, though it's still really good. And I would watch season 2 over this 100 times over. I'll let you talk and rant for a second.
I would call it. I mean, I would say it's almost great instead of almost good.
Okay,
I had a little.
Because you think it's good.
Higher of a standard for it.
All right. Well,
I think. Yeah.
Oh, so I had it as almost so good.
Almost so good. Okay. So we're basically saying the same thing.
Yeah. Terminology. Semantics.
I mean, I think you can really tell what's pre-overhaul and what's post-overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
Very obvious. Really, I mean, one of the big things is like you really only see Matt really morning foggy on a few occasions until like episode 8.
Yeah.
Besides that, it's not acknowledged too much. Foggy getting killed by Bullseye isn't referenced again until the first scene with Frank Castle. So
I think the Frank Castle scene in 4 was added after.
Yeah, it was
because
was most definitely added.
Bernthal said that he wouldn't return unless they did his character justice. And I believe that 4 and 9 that he was in had good Punisher scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, the Frank Castle and Matt Murdock discussion in episode 4 felt shoehorned in. Like it didn't need to be there. I understand the Punisher tie-in with how the cops started to use the Punisher logo as a symbol for anarchy and such. But it really felt shoehorned in. Because Matt just goes in there, he's like, look, I found this. And I'm like, okay, you could have a Punisher tie-in without having Castle there. So that the Castle edition felt added. They could have.
They said that scene was meant for a later episode.
Interesting.
So I think it probably would have fit better in like episode 8 or so. Yeah.
But also it was the boost we needed because I wasn't feeling good about 1 through 3. You can go back and listen to our reactions per section. But 4 was good, and then was it 4 and 5 that were released together?
5 and 6 were released together.
6. Yeah. So now that we were recording, I believe the live action remakes episode that night, and I said there must be a reason why they're releasing a mid-season two mid-season episodes together, and it's because they knew 5 was weak. They knew 5 was a filler episode, and so they were like, let's get 2 out because the episode 6 is really the one to talk about.
And episode 4, I mean, we like to say that it's really good, but it mostly just had a really good scene.
Yeah.
Other than that, there was just like that, the plot with the one guy with Matt's client that was just kind of went nowhere and forgettable.
First off, I know I agree with your point, but the title of the episode is called Six Semper Systema, which I think is classy. I like that title because it's a play on Six Semper Tyrannis, which John Wilkes Booth shouted after shooting Lincoln. But it's long live the system. John Wilkes was long live the tyrants. But long live the system is ironic because Matt is dealing with the concept, even though I didn't like how they executed the small petty theft storyline from episode 4. I respect it because Matt starts to understand the futility of the system, though it's good for giving people what they want. The point that I believe was missed, even though it makes sense, is that the big pretty boys can buy their way out of jail. They can post bail. They can they have privilege, more or less, to get those things under their belt. Even there's been news of someone, and I don't want to get too political, but a murder that happened, and the murderer was immediately released because of bail, reduced bail as well. And that just is kind of the idea of Six Semper Systema in an ironic way. So at the very least, I like that title. I understand what they were going for in that episode, but at the same time, I couldn't feel sympathy for the guy who would not learn from his mistakes. That was what I was like, you're really trying to get me to care for the guy who will not grow up and will not be an upstanding human being. Like that's the hard part of being a defense attorney for Matt. But he also buckles to his needs. He could have just been a jerk and been like, you're going to serve your time. And there's nothing you can do about that because you've chosen these life decisions. But also you got to fight for your client to get paid. So I don't know.
I feel like with rewatch, if I ever rewatch Born Again, Sorry,
I got to point that out. If you ever rewatch Born Again, you would really want to watch. rewatch 1 through 3 of the Netflix show, and Born Again is like a if I need to. That's telling. I'm sorry.
It depends on how the rest of Born Again is. I feel like with most, there's gonna be one scene that you're waiting for in the episode with most of the episodes. Otherwise, the episodes are just kind of like, meh.
Would you watch the zombie children over anything here? We talked about that in our first episode.
Maybe not anything, but with how some of just Fisk's mayor stuff goes, some of that just gets boring.
Yeah, for sure.
And what was I going to say? But yeah, with episode 2, I feel like you'd probably just sit and wait until his beatdown on the bad cops at the end. And then, episode 3 is actually a good episode. But then episode 4, you're just kind of sitting and waiting for the Punisher scene.
I hear him. Get him, Daddy.
Yeah. He got life.
Foggy life. Okay, now that we've pointed out that Frank always says, "Let me tell you something, Red." Now I can only hear, "Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something." Different tones, but
yeah.
So yeah, you're going through all the things that you would watch, like if you were to make a master cut of all the good stuff.
Yeah.
What you would watch?
Episode 5.
Skip.
Yeah.
I don't even think the combat was that great for episode 5.
That stairway scene was actually so weird.
Yeah.
With how it was cut. I feel like no music made it weird as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes it works to have... I was just watching... So Brown Table, you know who Brown Table is? You've seen his stuff?
Oh yeah, I like the videos.
He had a video he just came out with today. I think his analysis of Born Again.
I'm gonna watch it.
He called it Daredevil Reheated.
Oh,
which is
ooh, ouch.
Which you could say for almost like any revival. It's still good. It just just doesn't taste as good as the first time.
Yeah.
But he was saying that this Born Again uses soundtrack in such weird moments where it's just like characters talking and you hear like a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's just like, but you have this in all these moments where it's just characters talking. But then in this fight scene, it's just nothing. And yeah, that could have just been executed way better than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the weird sparkle sound effect in episode 5 too. Brown Table mentioned that, which just had me all weirded out by that again, with how serious of a tone Daredevil's supposed to be. Just hear a bling when they take out the diamond. It's just like, no.
You got to give him props for not having Miss Marvel show up, even though I complained about how much they said her name to just say, "Oh, he said the thing. Oh, they said it again 5 seconds later." You got to admit they didn't actually have any major crossovers, which helps and hurts. It hurts because it's not tying in. It helps because it's not tying in. Because I sent you the video of like, this is the same universe, by the way, and I think it showed
like Thor Love and Thunder and
Thor Love and Thunder versus the episode 9 apartment fight. They're just very different tones, and I mean that's part of the joy of such a diverse universe, is that there's things that you can have comedy movies, you can have dark and gritty movies, you can have okay flops and hits and masterpieces and whatever. There's a bunch in between, and we're gonna cut it there. We're gonna try this back to weekly episodes, but that means you get to stop right here and tune in next week for part 2. So share this with a friend, buy some merch, and do the stuff that you'll hear next week in the outro that we just recorded.
Thanks for watching, Mom.
Until next week, know that you're in love. God bless.